Welcome to the FanDuel Punch Out. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Taking a look at the Saturday night slate here. And overall, this one pretty appealing as far as the offensive things go. And there's a lot of pitchers that we'll definitely be targeting against.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. There's a lot of different ways to go. So that's nice.
Yeah, definitely. Jumping right into catcher here, obviously looking at kind of two of the top price options, Victor Martinez and Posey, both in great spots here.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really deny it, and the price isn't killing you. So again, if you're looking to pay down at pitcher, which I wouldn't necessarily suggest, even though it's a weaker slate, there are some pay ups at catcher that would work out for you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Posey, we know he has a great track record against left-handers. Corbin hasn't been that great. 348 WOBA allowed, 1.35 runs per nine, and you gotta like that ballpark as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like that call too.
And in that same game, Castillo, a little bit cheaper, just a couple hundred, 3,200, going up against Jake Peavy there, certainly in play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Castillo's swinging the bat well, and I mean, people kind of target him only against lefties, but the way he's hit in Arizona, I think really against any handedness, he's in play.
Yeah, and I think we're coming for Jake Peavy, so load up your Diamondbacks.
Oh yeah, we're coming for you, Jake Peavy.
Lucroy at 31, I like that price. I think he's a pretty decent option there, especially if the Padres haven't named their starter while we're recording this, so I can't imagine it's going to be too strong of a pitcher. So I think stacking Brewers is another option today.
Yeah, definitely. And if you want to look at some cheaper guys, we talked about the Phillies kind of putting their catchers in the cleanup spot, hitting fourth at times. Carlos Ruiz is hitting kind of in that fifth or sixth spot at times. Obviously, it depends on what Howard does. They would be in play for me. I think this Phillies offense is better than it looks, and I think at their prices, I don't mind them one bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much about it. I mean, there are some punt options. We've been kind of looking at Wieters over night in and night out here. Just because he is so cheap and hitting sixth in that ballpark, he's certainly very playable. And I think if you are paying up on the hill, I don't mind Wieters. It's just kind of a punt catching option.
Right, and this is a little different than DraftKings because obviously he's actually pretty reasonably priced. Here he's just purely a punt, so that's cool with me.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at first base here, one name that immediately catches my eye, who's not that badly priced, is Lucas Duda against Eddie Butler at 3,800. Butler, I mean, vicious, numbers. I mean, 451 WOBA allowed to lefties, 2.08 home runs per nine since 2014. Obviously, Duda, I mean, stands out to me as the top first baseman option because I think we were both in agreement that the Mets stack disappointed last night, but obviously tonight against Butler is certainly very much in play.
Yeah, and I mean he's not even really one of the top three priced guys. So I think you're looking at a pretty reasonable jump down from him, and I think he's got an argument for number one tonight. So yeah, I definitely like that call there, and that actually might change my exposure in terms of maybe fading some of the other top guys just to get him in there for a cheaper price.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think one thing you obviously got Encarnacion right there against Colby Lewis in Texas. Mm-hmm. Encarnacion homered last night. Goldschmidt 4K against Peavy. I mean, they're all certainly, I think those are the three that I have my eye on out of that whole group up there.
Right. And I think in terms of both sites, that's kind of the guys we have our eye on regardless, but this is more comfortable,
Yeah, they don't quite carry such a heavy weight in comparison to DraftKings. And and I think regardless, I mean, Aaron Nola is your top kind of cash can guy at 8,400. He's not setting you back anywhere where you have to pay down at first base tonight.
Right.
Looking at second base, and once again, it's kind of the usual suspects up there, very expensive. Robinson Cano, Daniel Murphy, I mean, very much in play as being the top options. I prefer Murphy. I think the way he's hitting red hot right now in that matchup against Flores at home, he's my top guy tonight if I'm paying up.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going with Murphy over Cano. I do like Cano, but I think I'd give the slight edge to Murphy considering things are straight up. And both of them over Odor, personally.
Yeah, I mean Odor certainly in play for GPPs.
Hmm.
I just think, yeah, the way Murphy's hitting, I like him. I mean, even though Odor is kind of rolling strong as well.
Right.
Um, and the one thing that kind of now pops up is, can you pay up there when Neil Walker against Butler in cores at 3,500? I mean, that's kind of, it's like, maybe that lowers all those top tier guys, their ownership just a bit because Walker is a little bit cheaper.
Hmm.
So about him, I mean, that's pretty much kind of it in that mid range. Down lower, if you want to look to kind of punt a little bit, still Cesar Hernandez hitting
Hmm.
second, still a guy
2,100. Yep.
that's about it. I'm gonna kind of punt with. I mean, really, I think second base is fairly strong, and I don't think you need too many punt options on this slate with the pitching.
Yeah, Hernandez down in that 2,100 range is nice if you're actually looking at punting, but probably don't have to.
Yeah, definitely. Third base here tonight, and this is one that's a little bit different. We talked about on DK. Machado, Donaldson, and Arenado were all right in that same tier. Now you kind of are forced to take a decision into hands of, do you want to pay down about 1,000 for Machado or Donaldson compared to Arenado? When Arenado obviously at home is in a good spot against Logan Beret. I mean,
Hmm.
where do you kind of land on that?
Yeah, I still like Arenado. Just in terms of ceiling, and I think potential stack ceiling. I just think Arenado's to play either way, even with sort of these guys at reduced prices compared to him on FanDuel.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think Donaldson, I think is a solid one-off if maybe you can't reach that price point.
Hmm.
I think Machado and Donaldson are kind of more in line just for if I'm rolling out stacks.
And Castellanos, I like that price at 3,400. Kind of the same thing as DraftKings, but I mean it's just on a smaller scale.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you got David Wright right there as well if you want some more Coolers exposure. Not as
Mhm.
strong as splits, but obviously Eddie Butler 341 will be allowed to righties. So, yeah, I mean, either or, not good. So
Mhm.
you can kind of target on both sides there. If you're looking cheap, Jake Lamb, I think, is a great kind of lower tier guy coming up against PV. Will be hitting at the top of the lineup in that ballpark. He's definitely got some power. I like him a lot tonight.
Yeah, I like that call. Justin Turner, Michael Franco, only 2,600. So Aaron Hill, 2,200. Those are kind of the guys we've kind of been looking at the same suspects at third for a while now. And in terms of what punt plays are, I think it's kind of the same guys. Um, every night, Franco batting high in the lineup and um, still staying at that cheap price.
Yeah, I mean, why the hell do we even do our jobs if it's just the same people, you know?
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Let me make a correction. Actually, that was completely wrong information. I don't know what I'm talking about in that sense. I do know what I'm talking about in terms of picking players, but I must have just blacked out. I don't know what just happened. Anyway, what were you saying, Jason?
Basically that we shouldn't have jobs because we'd just be talking about the same players. I'm just spitting a ball on what you said in the middle of what was happening, but
Oh, I don't remember that. I don't know what you're talking about.
but it is the usual suspects at third base. It's a very deep position, and you do have some nice pivots to make, and I think you can go low
Mhm.
and kind of go in different ways in tournaments tonight, especially if you're building multiple lineups to get some guys of kind of all price points.
Right.
So, shortstop here tonight, Trevor Story, obviously your top price guy, 4,600.
Hmm.
Unlike DraftKings, there aren't too many guys around him, and kind of because Cozart, Seager, Villar are priced up a bit, it's kind of like, okay, if I'm paying up that much, I'll sacrifice and go Story.
Yeah, I actually like this more for him because he's on an island there and that kind of differentiates him. So I actually like this more for him on FanDuel. I think that fits. So I do like him. Obviously, if you're doing a core stack, sure.
Yeah, definitely. And one guy we talked about on the DK pod, obviously he carried a lot more value there as far as points per dollar, but going against Elidimus Diaz there, 3,200, getting the lefty Casimir, certainly in play. I mean, the way he's swinging the bat well. Obviously he's coming off, a strong 2-hit night. He had a stretch there where he had 4 doubles in a row. Hitting lefty against like Casimir, I think he's certainly unplayable for that mid-tier.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
Once again, Troy Tulowitzki, 2,800, and obviously last night hit that homer, and we're kind of we were waiting for it to happen. Eventually, we tossed him out there because he's so cheap, and he hit a 3-run shot. Tonight, I think he's going to carry much heavier ownership. I know he was up there a lot last night, and I just think price considered against Colby Lewis, he just kind of makes sense as that points per dollar play again, even though he has struggled so much this year. I'm not changing my mind completely because of last night, but I'm just saying I still think Colby Lewis and this bullpen pose a threat to be really beaten up in this ballpark.
I think that's fair. And if you have been beaten down with Troy Tulowitzki shares so far this year, it's okay to keep fading. I don't think it's a life or death, but there is some upside there. Yeah,
definitely. And if he picks up a lot of steam and he's the chalk, I'm going to bite it because, I didn't have a ton of shares. And you know what? Obviously, a 3-run shot is going to crush you if he's heavily owned.
Right.
So, and he's about as cheap as you really need to go on this slate. I don't think you need to punt any lower.
Right.
Outfield here, you're looking at kind of the Coors bats once again. Cespedes, Blackman, Gonzalez, Conforto. Yeah, so it's just, you got those 6 guys very much in play.
And then you have Harper, Stanton, Trout as standalone guys in tournaments. So I mean, it just depends on how you want to go with roster construction. But I do think Harper, Stanton, Trout, I'm okay with those as standalone plays, especially if you go with a Coors stack or Met stack. I think that could be really high upside.
Yeah, definitely. And I like Hunter Pence at 3,800 as well. Hitting lefty in chase. I think that's solid. I don't mind a couple of those righty bats for the Giants, and Pence is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
So if you want to go lower, JD Martinez facing Mike Wright, who you can pick on definitely. 3,500, not a bad price tag for JD Martinez. I like Camden yards for him. And overall, Mike Wright, I mean, not a great arm by any means. 327 WOBA allowed to right-handed bats, so he's certainly in play for that mid-tier range.
Yeah, and I think when you start to look a little lower, Adam Jones, 2,700. I think that's a pretty intriguing price for how he's been doing. Obviously, you can't expect him to hit another homer, but he's been streaking, and at this reduced price, I think you just plug him in and hope for the best.
Yeah, definitely. And I know there's 2 Jays outfielders that you like because of the price points, and that's Kevin Pillar and Michael Saunders.
Yep, I like those too.
One other name who I kind of want to toss out here is Lorenzo Cain against Mike Foltynewicz. 348 WOBA allowed to right-handers, 1.45 home runs per 9. Also struggles against lefties, so this Royal stack could be kind of sneaky. But Lorenzo Cain at that price tag, 3,300. Obviously, not having quite the year he had last year, but coming off a nice little stretch here, especially in New York with that 3-home-run game. I like that price tag for him. I think he's a great ad, especially in GPPs. I think you're going to get him at a little bit lower ownership.
Yeah, that works.
Well, I'm glad you check off on that. Looking a little bit lower, I mean, you mentioned pretty much Jones. I think kind of Ricard as well kind of fit into that span there just from that game.
Right.
So
maybe Matt Holliday, throw that in there.
Yeah, definitely. He's another one going up against the lefty Casimir. That's a good call there. He's hit lefties well in his long career. His day. Back in his day. So he's getting up there, man. He's been around a long time.
He has. It's weird.
So, but yeah, that's going to wrap things up here with the FanDuel Punch Out. Be sure to check out DaveFantasyCafe.com for all our great tools and content.